Go green. Go green, go green, go green, go white. It was a pretty fun game if you like offense and explosive plays, because that's all that Michigan State, was really bringing to the table. They scored 4 touchdowns, each over 63 yards. You had the 2 63-yard passes to Nailor, the 65-yard pass to Nailor, and then the 94-yard pass, the 94-yard run by Kenneth Walker. And it's more of what we've seen from this offense, just a ton of explosiveness and big plays made by everybody really. Payton Thorne, at least from what I've seen this year, and obviously I've watched Michigan State more than I've watched any other team. I don't know that anybody throws a better deep ball than Payton Thorne does, because it seems like every single one he throws is right on the money, outside of that one that he had. I think he tried to connect with Nailor on another one, and is kind of a good thing that he overthrew it, because there are 2 defenders right there. So if he threw that one on the money, that one actually might have gotten picked off. But Michigan State wins in pretty dominating fashion, sometimes frustrating fashion. A lot of mistakes that they made as well, but a lot of offensive explosiveness. Again, big plays, being able to hit you. I guess not even really when you least expect it, but it seemed like they left a lot of points on the board, and they still scored 31 points on the road in the Big Ten. So you'll take all the wins from there that you can get. I am Ryan from the Sports Carnage podcast. The link to the podcast is in the description on Facebook here. We dropped one on Thursday, I think, of this week, kind of breaking down some of these games, so you can see what we thought about this game as well as what we think about the Michigan game going on later tonight. But Michigan State is what I care about. I don't like Michigan. I'm not a Michigan fan. So I like doing these videos more, obviously. But the good, again, the offense. Jalen Nailor, 5 catches, 221 yards, which is just the most absurd Randy Moss thing I've ever heard. 3 touchdowns, 44 yards to catch. Which is, again, it's just stupid. Like those are literally video game type numbers. When you're playing, NCAA 14 with your friends or against the computer, those aren't real life wide receiver numbers. Same thing goes for Kenneth Walker. 29 carries, 234 yards. His second game of 200 yards in the Big Ten. He had the first one against Northwestern. Struggled a little bit against Nebraska, but was able to do damage last week as well against who'd they play last week? I don't know why I'm blanking on that. Whoever they played. Western Kentucky. That's not a Big Ten team. 2-0. 3-0 in conference. That's why I was thinking. They played 4 Big Ten games already. Regardless, 3-0 in the conference now, 6-0 overall. And again, the offense going crazy. The defense, though, not allowing a point in the second half today against Rutgers. I thought they played a lot better than they had in some of the previous games. And again, it's just like shuffling, trying to shuffle some people in the secondary, which is where our biggest, defensive concern is. We had Lowry, the cornerback, who, I think we'd probably seen the most of today, have some really nice plays. There was a third down that he stopped in coverage, and then another third down, 2 of them. One was just for a first down, and one was, I think, on the goal line, or at least in the red zone, where Rutgers was trying to throw. And maybe he got away with being a little handsy, but that's what happens in college football. You fight with the receiver, and sometimes it doesn't get called. And if it's not going to get called, obviously you keep doing it. But Michigan State, their run defense, played pretty well overall. Rutgers only averaged, 2.6 yards a carry. That might be a little bit misleading, since the main factor for that was Rutgers' quarterback not being able to get on the ground, whether it be sacks, but he did have a lot of read options as well. But, Rutgers running backs, they all went for, basically over 4 yards a carry. But being able to stop the quarterback on the option, where in the first half, at least on the first drive, it looked like Michigan State really didn't have any success stopping what Rutgers was going to be doing. And it seemed like it'd be, a frustrating game overall from that standpoint. But they were really able to buckle down and stop really what Rutgers wanted to do. And Rutgers didn't have, a lot of success passing either. Only 262 yards to the air. And a lot of that came, no, not a lot of it, I should say. But, 50 yards of that came, like on the last drive when Michigan State was up 31-13. And there's, 2 minutes left and Rutgers is just trying to, trying to pad their stats, basically. So Michigan State's playing a little bit softer coverage. So Rutgers was able to gain, about 20% of their yards that way. But, Vedral, their quarterback, 16-31, so just over 50% there for only 208 yards. And, this was probably the best game that was played by the secondary. There was really only one play where I think it was Crookshank got loose. Or he got open downfield and Vedral just wasn't able to hit him. But he was open. It was an overthrow, so it didn't end up costing us. But other than that, I thought Michigan State played really well in the secondary today. Maybe that's just because Rutgers wasn't able to, to kind of make them pay for, for having a weaker secondary. But Michigan State was able to really shut down anything Rutgers wanted to do on offense. Obviously gave up only the one touchdown on Rutgers' first drive of the game, and then 2 field goals in the second quarter and nothing after that. And one of those field goals probably shouldn't have even come when they had that bogus penalty on, I believe it was on Panashuk. There was 2 penalties. I thought they were both on Panashuk, maybe not, or one on Panashuk and one on Slade. But when they called him for a late hit out of bounds, even though he got blocked into the quarterback and didn't even really hit him. And then the second play, which was, I think they called roughing the passer. So there were a couple breaks there that went against Michigan State, but they were able to, not let that fold them. And I think the biggest kind of sign that Michigan State was going to win this game, obviously besides the big plays, was there's a drive and it was still a close game. I want to say it was, or we up 7 to, we were down 13-10, right? Or 10-7 or something like that. It was a close game, and I'm sure once I describe the play, you'll remember exactly what the score was. But I believe Rutgers had just scored, and Michigan State got the ball, and essentially what happened was we got the ball. It was a bad snap. Payton Thorne dropped it, and Rutgers got the ball at like the 10-yard line or something. And I think in some of the later D'Antonio years, those teams could have folded underneath that amount of adversity. Because at that point, I think the offense had, I think they just sputtered on the drive before. I think it was before, some of the big plays that they had. And I think Rutgers was only able to get a field goal out of it. But then Michigan State came back down and started to score. I guess I can just actually check I probably should take notes on it. But I can probably just check like the play-by-play and some of the scoring plays. So 14-13, is that what happened? 4 plays, 2 yards, a field goal. Okay, so yeah, Michigan State was up 14-10. Michigan State up 14-10, and then Rutgers had a field goal after that. Yep. Okay, sorry. So they were up 14-10, and then I was thinking to myself, Michigan State just dominated this game, but it's not showing on the scoreboard. I think we go down, we score a touchdown here to control the game, and that's kind of the exact opposite of what happened. We had the fumble snap. Rutgers was able to get a field goal out of it, but their drive was only 4 plays, 2 yards. But because they were so close, they were able to get a field goal to make it 14-13. And then Michigan State had a touchdown, a 1-play touchdown right after that drive. So sorry, I was trying to piece it together in my head. I probably should have just looked at the game score here.
Do you
But
really,
that
really
was-
love your cat?
Whoops, let me get rid
Then
of that.
show it with the
But I thought that was really, kind of the turning point in the game, was us being able to respond to that and take it, kind of take it back from Rutgers and still keep the momentum. And we are the kings of the chop now. Now that Rutgers wanted to be all pissy about it, acting like they were the first people ever to put their hand in the other hand. Bruce here says a hell of a game. Adam says the Rutgers quarterbacks looks like shit. If they're going to do anything, they need to get rid of that quarterback. However, it looks like Michigan State has the best running back in the nation and the top 3 wide receiver in the nation, if not top receiver in the nation. This is coming from a Michigan fan. So the different parts of that, I don't know that Rutgers quarterback is very good. One thing I do like about Vidral, though, is he's tough, man. He took a lot of hits from Michigan State. I was saying this to my friends. I think it's because he knows that, he's not really going to be playing a level of football beyond this. So he's just like going all out, not necessarily worrying about like conserving his body. But I mean, credit to him, he's tough. He took a lot of hits today. They ran that read option a lot with the option for him to pull it, basically. And he just, he just got hit time after time after time, and kept bouncing back up. So I'll give him credit for there. But yeah, he's not very good. Ole Miss just had a big play, a 70-yard touchdown to take the lead against Arkansas with the minute left. Michigan State, best running back in the country. He's playing like it right now. I know. Is it Bijan Robinson for Texas? I know it's the running back for Texas. I don't exactly know how to pronounce his name, but he had a big game today too against Oklahoma. And him and Kenneth Walker, if you've looked at like some of the updated Heisman odds, obviously it's the quarterbacks at the top, but the running backs that you see are going to be Walker and then the running back from Texas. Obviously I'm biased. I think Kenneth Walker's better, but he's certainly one of the best running backs in the country. And if you listen to the podcast, there's a Michigan fan on the podcast who has besmirched Kenneth Walker's name all year. And a top 3 wide receiver in the nation. I don't know. There's a lot of good receivers, and I think there's a lot of good receivers who maybe have some worse, quarterback play. I think this receiver duo is one of the best in the country with Nailor and Reed. And it's interesting that you said a top 3 receiver in the nation. And I'm not sure who you're talking about. Reed's played better this year. Obviously, today was the Jalen Nailor show. But I just think both of them are such big play threats that you can have 2 guys go over 200 yards. Obviously not in the same game, but just on the same team. 2 guys that are threats to go over 200 yards is it's insane. It's like having Chris Carter and Randy Moss. But it's definitely one of the best receiving duos in the country, and I think that's why so many of the big plays happen, because you don't know who to guard if you're a defense, right? Like you really can't double team them both, or that just leaves you exposed to so many other things. So if you're going to put your attention on Reed, then Nailor can easily get behind you and make you pay. And we've seen in the other games this year where if you're putting attention on someone else, then Reed can get behind you and make you pay. So I think there's a lot of excitement, obviously, with the receivers. And again, I said it at the top of this video, and there's only a couple of you in here now, so only you guys get to hear this propaganda, except for the people on YouTube afterwards, I guess. But like I said, I think Payton Thorne throws the best deep ball in college football. It's just so pretty. It's ridiculous. It seems like it's pinpoint every single time, and it's really, I don't know. I don't think it's been discussed enough, honestly. Like he's been a really good quarterback, and again, the deep throw is the hardest thing to kind of nail if you're a quarterback, and it doesn't seem like Payton's really had any horrifying throws on the deep pass. And a lot of these big plays, obviously, you give credit to the receiver for getting open, but you got to give as much credit to the quarterback for getting the ball there, and that's something that Thorne's done just wonderfully this year. One thing I didn't want to talk about To be fair, right, I think this is probably Mel Tucker's like worst coach game. If you take a look at, they had the series on their first drive, where they had like the kind of bizarre third down play call. Obviously you have these receivers and they hadn't had their big plays yet, but you have these guys as weapons. You run it on third and 3 or 3rd and 5. You don't get it, and then you fake a field goal with nobody running a route to the side that Barringer rolled out to. So it was just your punter on an island. It's a really kind of mind-boggling call. I didn't even mind so much I thought the third down play call was bad. I didn't think the fake field goal call itself was bad, but the play design was horrendous. Like you absolutely, there's no way that you can have nobody on that side that Barringer's rolling out to, and just trust your punter to, what are they, 5-10 yards back or something when they're taking the snap. So you're basically asking him to run like 10 to 15 yards, and juke out everybody when he's probably never had to do that in his entire life. And then you had the end of the first half, clock mismanagement, where we got the second back, but we should have taken a timeout to set up a field goal. Obviously, the field goal ended up getting tipped and slash blocked slash missed. Cristiano took 2 timeouts in a row, which was kind of funny. But it did end up costing, that decision didn't end up costing us 3 points, but it very well could have cost us points and cost us even a chance to get points. So that was another, kind of big red mark on the coaching staff. And then the other one they had was, what was it, 4th and 3 from like our own 35, where you can kick a 52-yard field goal. I know Coughlin hasn't been great this year, but 52 yards is in his range. And instead, they took a delay. They took a delay of game and punted it again from the 35. And I'm of the opinion that you just go for it at that point. But I thought that was a really bad decision by the coaching staff too. And then you had the whole debacle with the punt that was like inside. Basically inside the end zone, the other end zone, where we had a swing pass, I think, on 2nd down, which was a pretty bad play call, and it seemed like I don't know. I wish they would have fed. I mean, Kenneth Walker ended the day with, I think, 28 carries or something. I wish they would have fed him more. It seemed like they started to go away from him in a spot where, it was kind of giving Rutgers some of the momentum because our offense wasn't churning as they were able to. And then when they did go to him, he runs for, 94 yards to the house. So I didn't like that just sequencing of play calls. But then there's delay of games, there's false start, and then the false start's probably not so much on the coaching. But it was a little bit in how much they were just trying to shift guys around. Maybe it's because the field goal that was tipped and blocked, and they were so close to the Rutgers end zone that they didn't want like any possibility of a guy breaking through and blocking the punt and giving Rutgers points, whether it be a safety or a touchdown. But it seemed like a really bad sequence of coaching. It seemed like all the players were confused, and it seemed like all the coaches were confused. And for us to still win by 18 points and put up 31 and only give up 13, that's none of that is encouraging. But it just makes you wonder, like, what if our coaching was on all cylinders too, right? Like the defense and the offense, for the most part today, we're hitting on all cylinders. But the special teams, and those weren't the only penalties the special teams had, and the coaching staff, again, I thought didn't have a good day at all. And if we can have all 4 phases, if all 4 phases were hitting like the offense and the defense were hitting today, this game could have been 49-7 or something. And at the end of the day, I guess like the final score doesn't really matter, but as long as you win, right? Obviously the final score matters if you lose instead of win. but I thought there were a lot of missed opportunities for points that against a better team than Rutgers might come back to haunt Michigan State. And I'm interested to see what you guys say about that. We're about to end the video here. So leave your comments below in the YouTube video. What you think of some of the coaching decisions. Did you think we left points on the board, or am I being too harsh on the coaches? And what do you think about this team moving forward? Halfway through the season, 6-0. Bowl eligible, which is a pretty fun thing to say. Offense looking great. Kenneth Walker looking great, continuing his Heisman campaign. Jalen Nailor exploding today, having one of the best, receiving games we've ever seen a Michigan State receiver have. And then, Payton Thorne looking like the real deal. So I'm interested to see kind of what you guys think about everything, because I think this game was interesting in that there are a whole lot of takeaways, right? At the end of the day, I don't think Rutgers sucks. I don't think they're good. I think they're probably a little bit below a decent team. So to go on the road and get a win against Rutgers in a game where they kind of had some juice to it, because there's the whole, they thought we stole the chopping thing, and even if we did steal it, you're Rutgers, so you can't really do anything about it. So I thought there was, not that it was a rivalry game, but I thought it was more juice than a typical, Michigan State and Rutgers game might have. And for Michigan State to go in there and dominate the way that they did was encouraging. But again, I thought there was just so much room for improvement that it'll keep you wondering what happens when they do put one of these games together, where it's offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. And what will that Michigan State team look like, basically? But that is what we have for you guys today. Thank you much for joining here. David, before we end up leaving, he said they need to figure out how to improve their tight end use. They can't count on explosive plays every game. Use of tight ends is non-existent. It sure is. And they brought in Malik Carr, the wide receiver / tight end from Purdue, and they haven't really used him at all this year. But I think the fact that Michigan State has 3 good receivers, they have not only Nailor and Reed, obviously, but they also have Trey Mosley. You can get a little bit away from the tight ends. Oops, sorry. But I would like to see the tight end used more. And you're right. The big explosive plays today. Again, we had 4 touchdowns, 63 yards or over, and obviously that's not going to happen every game. But, I think we'll continue to go for the big plays. And if you go for the big plays, that's the only way that you are going to get them. But, yeah, we could definitely use some work on, the kind of the intermediate passing game. And obviously we have a really good running game to go with that, too. So I think that's probably the reason it's been phased out. And we just might not have the tight ends to pull it off right now. But I do think that is a good point and something to keep an eye on moving forward if you do see teams start to try and take away the deep ball and kind of force Michigan State to just dink and dunk their way down the field to beat them. I don't know that that's something that we've really seen yet, but my guess would be it's coming, because the hardest part of the schedule is coming. Obviously, you still have to play Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State in these next, last 6 weeks here. So I think we'll learn a lot more about Michigan State these last 6 weeks than we've learned in the first 6 weeks. But, we'll bowl eligible, obviously, 6-0, undefeated. We'll probably be top 10 after this week. Somebody's going to lose just because it's the way it always happens. So that'll be fun for Michigan State to see at least a 10 by their name again. But we're gonna leave for real this time. So I am Ryan again from the Sports Carnage Podcast. Sports Carnage Podcast you guys can find on Apple Podcasts, on Podbean, and on Spotify is the biggest one. Probably should have said it first. Our Facebook link is in the description there. We're also on Twitter and YouTube, where this video will be in the next 30 minutes or so. We'll be back for the Michigan game. We'll be back for the Lions game tomorrow. And then, if you're listening to this on YouTube afterwards, all of our links are in the description, the social media links, and the podcast links I just mentioned. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in a little bit.